Hey y'all, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Wildflower T, and today we are going to be recapping the latest episode of Sister Wives. For those of you who may need a quick refresher from the season thus far, we have seen a lot of conversation around Christine and Kody's separation and what that separation will entail. Christine has made it very clear that she is wanting to move to Utah with Truly, and of course, Kody has been giving her a bit of pushback on that. Kody's argument is that if she moves with Truly, he's not going to get to see her that often. However, Christine's argument has been if he really wanted to spend all of this time with Truly, he would already be doing so. One of the biggest downfalls of their relationship has been the fact that Kody hasn't spent time with Christine and the family. So I do find it a bit ironic that now that she has really decided to leave the family and wants to go in her own direction, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he cares about the kids. And I feel like more light was shed on this when it comes to the last episode. They had a Zoom meeting with the sister wives and Kody, where one of the main topics were if the kids were going to go back to public school after spring break. Now, mind you, this was filmed a year ago, back in 2021, when COVID was at its peak and a lot of public schools were doing remote learning at home. Christine told Kody that Isabel was wanting to go back to public school for the last couple of weeks of her senior year. That way she would be able to spend time with her friends, which makes a lot of sense because unfortunately kids from all around the world really were negatively affected by not having that social interaction, which in my personal opinion is just as important as education itself because you're going to use those communication skills so much throughout your life. And let's just say Kody's response to this was rather shocking. He said he fully supported whatever Isabel wanted to do. If she wanted to go back to school and spend those last few weeks with her friends, he completely understood and was leaving that decision up to her, which sounds super supportive, right? And rather strange coming from Kody, the one who has made such a big deal about them being around people, which again, in my opinion, has created the biggest strain on their family. But as the conversation continued, it all started to make sense.
I was waiting to see kind of what this conversation was before I decided anything.
I've specifically asked that Brienne and Solomon not go back to school.
But he says Isabel can go back.
Brienne is not nearly as social as Isabel, especially during a senior year. So there's a difference, and the difference is where Isabel is at and what Isabel wants.
Kody, you could still go see her and be apart from her, like 6 feet apart in the backyard or something.
Well, I can do that, but that's been a real inconvenience so far.
Nobody asked.
But yeah, here's the thing. We're doing that. And I'm willing to do that. It's a bit of an inconvenience.
He has basically told on himself time and time again, especially in this latest season, Robin is his favorite. Robin listens to him, Robin respects him, and follows the rules without any pushback. Him and Robin's children need him the most because they're minors. But the issue is his children with Robin are not the only children that need him. All of his children need him. And he does have other minor children that he seems to just not care as much about, or maybe cares differently about. Conversations like this one makes it very clear where Kody stands. And it is a constant reminder to the rest of the family that they're either not good enough or wanted in the same way that Robin and her children are. He can live in this place of denial and say, oh, well, all of his children are in different phases in their life and they need him in different ways. It sounds really great in the confessionals, but when your children are coming to you telling you that they do not feel like you are present within their lives, and yet as their father, you choose to ignore that, not only is that disappointing, but it's heartbreaking to see. We also see Mykelti have her very first home birth, and of course, Christine was present for the delivery, but so was Robin Brown, and although she could not be there in person, they were able to get her on a Zoom call. The delivery itself was precious and very emotional, but there was a moment there where it got a bit scary. According to Christine, the umbilical cord had been wrapped around that sweet little baby 3 to 4 different times, and I can only imagine as a mother myself in that moment how terrifying that would be, especially being at home, not having the medical care at your fingertips tips, but thankfully they were able to get the baby unraveled, and she was absolutely precious, you guys. Now, in the very beginning of this episode, Christine does open up saying that Tony is adjusting to being a father amazingly. He wants to spend literally all of his time with his baby, and that is so sweet because, you know, sometimes it takes daddies a little bit longer to be able to grow that bond with their child. So I thought that was so sweet that not only was he adjusting well, but also being such a big help to Mykelti. Then we go into the first family meeting of this episode. Janelle lets the whole family know that she bought an RV sight unseen and has decided to move it onto the property. Now, I made a whole video about this when it happened last year, so if you guys want to go check that out, I will tag it up above. But basically, she was just wanting her family's approval, letting her know that she had done the right thing because it was so spur of the moment. And for the most part, everyone was very supportive of her. Now, Kody did make it clear that he wasn't fond on the idea of living in a quote-unquote trailer, but that he would do it, especially if it helped to kind of move along the process of them building on their property. The RV itself is not supposed to be a permanent home, just a temporary place for Janelle to live until they do start to build, and I believe that this was her way of trying to jumpstart that process because, as most of you know, they have been discussing building on that property forever. And finally, we get to the meat and potatoes of this episode, family meeting number 2, where Christine tells the family that she has decided to leave Kody. As I'm sure you guys can imagine, this was a very sensitive conversation, so for that reason, they did not have any producers or cameramen on site. Instead, they used their own personal phones to film the conversation, and pretty much right off the bat, Christine let them know not only is she leaving Kody, but that she has also made the decision that her and Truly will be moving to Utah. Of course, Robin got very emotional, and she stated that she doesn't think Christine or Kody really understand what this divorce means. Christine isn't just going to be leaving Kody, but the whole family, and we're talking about decades together. And I know that Robin gets a lot of crap for being extremely emotional all the time, you know, sobbing Robin, but in this moment I actually understand where she's coming from. However, when it comes to Miri, she was pissed about the whole situation because she feels like they committed to this lifestyle as a family, and in this moment it's Christine backing out of that commitment. And again, I can understand that emotion as well, but not everyone is built like Miri. Not everyone can commit to a life of solitude, nor should they have to. As for Janelle, she was already very aware of the situation because, as a lot of you probably know, Christine and Janelle have remained very close throughout all of this. Her only real concern were for the kids, especially Truly, because this is a huge transition for her. Not only is she going to be moving away from the only family she's ever known, but also having to start over in a new environment. And I have to give it to Christine because she was very honest with her answer to all of this, even though I'm sure it wasn't what they wanted to hear.
You can't actually stop me from being in her life. So I don't know what your intention was with moving with her.
He wants to be involved in my kids' lives now that I'm leaving. Now he wants 50-50 time with them. Well, hell, he could have had 50-50 time with us the whole. He should have been around more. If you guys, we'll figure out the holidays, we'll figure out birthdays, we'll figure it out.
It was very, very honest. And I mean, what can any of them expect? This was their first conversation about the whole ordeal. I'm sure as the season continues, we will get more answers on as to what is going to happen and how it's all going to go down. But I want to know what you guys thought about this episode. I know it's a lot. Do you agree with Christine when it comes to the fact that she shouldn't have to live her life around them anymore? Or do you think that she should work with them more when it comes to Truly and her being around her family? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below. Also, if you enjoyed this recap, please consider hitting the like button, subscribing, and tapping the bell. That way you are notified for next week's recap. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate y'all to the moon and stars, and until my next one. Mwah. Bye y'all.